Meteorologist Brianna Mowry from News 19, still tracking the tropics, especially as Hurricane Erin begins to make that northern curve away from the U.S. But right now we also have another area of development that we're watching. This latest update shows a medium chance of development of this area in the orange right behind Erin over the next 7 days. So if anything does develop in this area, it would be later this coming up week or the weekend. So we do have plenty of time to watch that area and see what may happen in that spot. But right now, the latest advisory from 8 o'clock from the National Hurricane Center, Erin is still a Category 3, winds of 125, gusts of 155. But again, it's moving at the west-northwest, so it is beginning to make that turn, which is expected at 13 miles per hour. So here's what we're expecting. It could strengthen again through the overnight hours. We have some tropical storm warnings now for parts of Turks and Caicos and southern Bahamas, and that's going to continue as it passes to the east of those areas tomorrow and tomorrow night, and it will move north and pass by the east coast of the U.S. by the middle of the week. So looking at the spaghetti models, they're still pretty consistent. A couple of outliers outside of that cone, but for the most part, general ideas, it's still expected to move between the U.S. and Bermuda through the middle of next week. And we're going to see strengthening possibly with this over really into the tomorrow. Could strengthen back to a Category 4 as it enters warmer waters again. Temperatures could be 85, 86 degrees even, and that could definitely help bring some more fuel into Erin and allow it to strengthen once again. It was Category 5, weakened to a Category 3, so we could see a little fluctuation in the intensity of this storm. Still comparing long-range models, the GFS and the European model, the GFS also known as the American model, they're both in pretty good agreement of where Erin will go, really almost right on top of each other. But as we get further into the week, they could differentiate a little bit on speeds, but still pretty much in agreement as far as where that will go. Again, it could be a little different with speeds on these two different models, but overall they are coming together much more closer than they have been over the last several days. Now looking at tropical storm wind chances, really not very high for many land areas. Now if you are along the Caribbean islands, the Bahamas, you could see some of those 20 to 30% chance of tropical storm winds, but we also are going to see another chance of those tropical storm winds, especially in Bermuda and along the coast of North Carolina, especially in the Outer Banks. There is already a mandatory evacuation for parts of the Outer Banks because of high winds creating high surf and maybe even some coastal flooding because of high waves. Now looking at hurricane force wind chances, this is a much more narrow area and really not expecting any hurricane force winds over anywhere with land. So this is some good news as Erin will stay over water, but could still see some impacts across coastal areas, especially wave heights as we head. Now this is the European model, so this is not an official forecast, but the European model is expecting wave heights to reach 15 to 20 feet along many areas of the coast. And this is from all the way from Florida all the way to the northern east coast as well in those northern states. But as we get closer to Thursday, Friday, it begins to move away and we'll begin to see more normal wave heights by the end of the week. But these wave heights are going to create a very high rip current risk for many areas along the beach. So any beachgoers along any of these East Coast beaches, again from Florida up to North Carolina, Virginia, all expecting rip current risks throughout this week. The GFS model also expecting some high wave heights. So we're pretty confident that some high surf and high waves will impact many of the coastal areas. Wave heights could get upwards again 15, 20, a little higher, maybe even 25 to 30 feet along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So again, still expecting some increased or very high wave heights, both models in agreement on that. So that means we have a little bit of a higher confidence if both models are showing similar things. And again, by the end of the week, especially Friday, going into Saturday, wave heights return much closer to normal. Erin is the 5th named system of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season, and the very first hurricane did strengthen to a Category 5, which is the strongest it can get. It is not a Category 5 right now, but could strengthen again as we head into tomorrow. So we are going to watch that. Also, we are still almost at the peak of hurricane season, but still not quite there. We are just right before the peak, and the peak is September 10th. So another couple of weeks or a few weeks before we get there. But we're beginning to get into that point where we're beginning to see more frequent hurricanes and tropical storms both. And we're going to continue to possibly see more of that development as we get through the month of September. Things will finally begin to wind down by end of September going to October, and especially by November when hurricane season ends. So we are getting closer and closer to the peak, and we are beginning to see more chances for development as well. The latest on Hurricane Erin, again, 125-mile-per-hour winds, gusts of 155, moving west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. This is the latest satellite imagery on this. The pressure, 946 millibars, so still a very strong hurricane, still a major hurricane because of it being Category 3. Again, here's another look at the latest path, a little closer look at the path as it brushes past the east coast of the U.S. Again, not expected to make a landfall, but just because we won't see a landfall, it does not mean we won't see some type of impacts along those coastal communities, especially along the Outer Banks and parts of North and South Carolina. By Wednesday, that's when we'll see it getting closest to us, but again, not a landfall, but those impacts are far beyond the center. This track is only going to forecast the eye of that hurricane, so impacts again well outside that cone, which is why we are continuing to see those already for parts of the Carolina coast, some warnings on those impacts, high surf advisories in place, and coastal flooding watches. So again, that is the latest on Hurricane Erin here at News 19. We are going to continue to watch this and bring you the latest. And again, I'm meteorologist Brianna Mowry.